Valentina Del Prete. Her talk will be about
the OW2 project and the OSPO Alliance.
Okay, so stage is yours.
Good evening to all, and thanks to be here. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to OW2 to invite me to moderate and to speak about OSPO Alliance. OW2 is a project that sustains open source project in an independent way and helps open source organization to do business of enterprise level. With RIOS, Rete Italiana Open Source, network of companies in which we are founder, we work together to the OSPO Alliance. And I want to talk about that in this afternoon. But what we are talking about? We are talking about to help each kind of organization to grow thanks to the open source. To grow thanks to the open source. But why? We know that, we all know in this event that 97% of software is based on open source code. But maybe this is not enough, because the open source is very used, but it's not at base of the innovation as the general people know. The enormous spread of open source software is not enough, and the role is our community is to strengthen the concept of open as the basis of an economic growth of an individual companies and as a post-capitalist model. We want that the open source will become a new way to create and generate value. But to do that, it's not simple. Every time that a company decided to do open source, develop software with open source, or just integrate software open source, have a lot of questions to solve. You have to understand how to integrate software with the other solution, considering not just the technical part, but also the question related to license, intellectual properties, and so on. Another big issue that we have to solve it's related to the cybersecurity that is regulated in this moment by the European CRA Act. We have to better know who have the governance of the project, how to have a good governance of the community that can be involved in the open source project. Have to decide how to be strong in the support of solution. Have to define the business model. Have to have the capacity to create a community that is not simple, and have to be able to guarantee the durability of this software in the time, because the software open source to be choose have to be durability, have to evolve in the time with the necessity of the customer. Each of these elements can be related to with each other, and if we can use and if we can insert in the company an OSPO, quindi an open source program office, can be a moderator of this issue to develop an open source model in each company. So, what is OSPO? We have said what is OSPO, and we can speak about the good governance initiative that is a, sorry for my English, methodological model that can be used by each company to define the steps to choose and develop open source. The new version of the GGI initiative is translated in Italian. In the GGI, we speak about open source, considering all the impact that it have on the che fatica. Ok, ci sono. Ce la posso fare. Ok. On the impact that open source can have on the organization, starting from the usage, that is the more basic basic level of the experience with the open source. But we can create a trusting with the open source code. We have to improve aziendal culture related to this word. We have to create engagement by the customer bases, but the community too. And we need to have a strategy that is for the singular company, but also to have the singular company in a world that include open source. So the GGI models define 4 steps that is very easy to create. The first one is the definition of the goals, the definition of the objective in terms of utilization, trust, culture, involvement, and strategy. The second step is more practical and have to transform the goals to canonical activities called CA, and activities with an objective that addresses a single development problem or topic. The third step is customize the activity scorecard, so to take the CA and transform that on the CAS, implementation of to add to the CI the KPIs to evaluate if the goals is going on. The first step is interaction, and obviously it is a periodical review of the process. You can do that on GitLab in 10 minutes because there is a template you can take and deploy on your GitLab that allow you to have all your steps in a dashboard, in an Epic, and control if your progress and your objective are going to be realized. And you, what is the first challenge you want to submit to your OSPO? I want to ask to you if you have some idea about what will be the first problem you have to submit to your OSPO if you had one of that. Do you have question for your OSPO? Vai, grazie.
The first is usually the habits of the users, meaning that yes, people is not really keen to change their software, their habits anyway. So from my point of view, at least from my experience, the first thing to do is always do some kind of information, trying to inform the users why the company is choosing open source software and so on and so forth. And then formation and training, so teach them how to use the software itself. So from my point of view, this is the real challenge. And to be honest, there are 2 kinds of challenges because you have the end users and you have the managers. So the managers have different perspectives, meaning that for them, for example, it's much more important than money. So saving money, even if it shouldn't be the first reason to choose open source software. But for them, it's what they care about the most. While for the end users, it's completely the opposite, because if you tell an end user of a company, we are choosing open source software to save money, they will tell you, you want to save money upon my shoulders. So it's a different approach. So there are many challenges, but all related to habits, all related to culture, from my point of view.
Yeah, I think that the main concept of the OSPO that is have to be very near to the management. The management have to habilitate the OSPO to work. Because, as you said, the main scope of the OSPO is to align the entire company to produce open source and to generate value with open source. If the management is not aligned about that, it is not possible. So there is some OSPO in Italy that are trying to construct the mentality to create business with the open source. But if you start from there, it's more hard, the path to be impactive with the open source. I think it's very important to know that to have an open source company, it's very important that all people know what it means to have an open source company. It's not just to use open source or to produce open source, but you have to have all the team in your company aligned on what means to work with the open source. I work in an open source company since 24 years, and sales work differently in an open source company instead that in a proprietary company. The developer works differently, but the HR too works differently, because you have to choose people and that want to create a trust relationship with your customer, because your value, it's not the product, but it's just the trust that your customer has about you, because you are not the property of your code. You have just the property of your knowledge. And this change the entire staff of the company. You had a challenge for your OSPO?
Any other question? Let me bring the mic. Here it is.
Hello. Can you get back to the Maslow pyramid?
Yeah.
That one's great. I've seen this described in many different ways, but this one is really interesting. I'm in a weird situation where I work for an open source company that's relatively big, the Maslow hierarchy shows really well in this case is it can happen, as you said, due to different parts of the company having different cultures, that you get a weird mix. So you have like the usage or psychological needs met, and you have some semblance of engagement, but there's certain parts of culture and trust missing. So the pyramid is not exactly stable, which I can attest that if the pyramid is not stable, it's not built this way, it gets a bit weird at some point, and it takes a lot of time and effort to stabilize the lower tiers if you already have some sort of higher tiers in place. That is more of a comment, but if you have a good solution for this problem, that would be awesome. But yeah, at least that's a comment from my side.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that the pyramid it's related to the importance and to elevation to the more high level of interest that you have in this value to be really open source, because you can use open source or you can have a strategy of open source. And I think this is the real difference to try to have an impact on the innovation world or just to use open source. I think, okay. No, bye. Oh, okay, it's better if you speak. I think that to do in a mission of a company, we have to decide if you want to use or if you want to ribaltare. Difficile. Want to move the value of open source, not just for the company that use, but to the customer that choose to work with us with the open source.